this is the routine. Go ahead and screenshot it. All right, that was enough time. So for this routine, no equipment is required, and the workout can be adjusted to any level, all right? What the hell was that? I tried to include elements from a whole bunch of different training modalities to introduce you and teach you about how to train for different goals, okay? So, and I'll explain that more later. Originally, my plan was to make a really huge video specifically detailing how you can train for each modality, right? And how to make the program yourself. But then I realized, first of all, the thing that I care about with these videos is getting complete beginners onto a fitness journey, all right? And what does a beginner need? So there's a lot of friction to start working out, right? There's a lot, and there's a lot that you don't know what to do. And for me, the problem that I had starting out was finding a routine that I liked to start on, because I had no idea how to distinguish the good routines from the bad routines. But eventually, I just started, and I just picked things up as I went. When I started, I was just doing a max set of push-ups, a max set of bicep curls with these 5-pound dumbbells or something, and it was very suboptimal, but the important thing was that I got started. So I want to just give a routine that I think is pretty good, that you can just start, literally today. That's why there's no equipment needed. That's why it can be adjusted to any level. On that note, I need you to make a commitment. I need you to do a workout before today ends. It can even be just a part of a workout, like maybe one or two exercises. It doesn't even have to be the whole thing. I just need you to get some momentum, to get started, and to just get the ball rolling. From then on, I want you to try to commit to doing this every day, once a day, just maybe 20 minutes a day. You have that time. And if you don't think you have that time, then check your screen time. And remember that this workout can be done literally anywhere because no equipment is required. Check your screen time. If you look at your screen time and it says you have a whole bunch of time spent on social media, on mobile games, or whatever, I would suggest, if you really care about this, that you take just 20 to 30 minutes of that time and allot it to hitting a workout. So keep that in mind. Do a workout before today ends. And then after that, do it every day. You might be wondering, how long will it take to see results? That's hard to tell because that depends on a lot of stuff. But in general, a lot of people, the quickest result that people see is they feel happier within a week, because exercise releases endorphins, and oh, my dog wants to come out. Hold on. Within a week, you will start feeling happier and you'll just start feeling like you have more direction in your life, you're making progress on something, like you're doing better. Now, if you care, sorry, I'm petting my dog. Now, if you care more about aesthetic differences, then that takes a little longer, a lot longer, maybe 2 to 3 months, I would say, before you start noticing stuff. I don't remember how long it took me. I actually searched this up on Google to see how long it took other people, but the general answer was 2 to 3 months. When that starts happening for you will definitely be different. My dog is licking something he should not be licking. Now, 2 to 3 months probably sounds really long, but here's the thing. First of all, you cannot get those results faster without it being unhealthy, taking a toll on your physical and mental health, all right? It's important that you take these things, you understand that these things take time, all right? And petting my dog again. And here's the thing, those 2 months are gonna pass by no matter what, all right? Now, that time can either be wasted time again towards your goals or progress, right? So it's gonna pass by no matter what. How are you gonna make use out of it? You need to think about it like this. Day by day, just tackle one workout in one day. That's pretty simple. And of course, it will take discipline, and chances are you're probably gonna miss a lot of days. But overall, just try your best to stay relatively consistent over the span of 2 months, and you will see results. And also, to make exercise more exciting and more of something that you're looking forward to doing, then just change your mindset towards it. The way that I find exercise, oh, the sun. Let me get my vitamin D real quick. Ouch. Oh, brick. Okay. The sun's rising right now. It looks very pretty. Petting my dog. The thing that made working out exciting for me was imagining that I was training not to become like just a little better, but to become an absolute like peak human being. Honestly, to become Batman. Yeah, I wanted to become Batman. Like, I knew that wasn't really possible, but that kind of idea, that excites me. Set a big goal for yourself. Understand that it'll take a really long time to get, but once you have that really big goal in mind, you'll be just more excited about it, you know? You'll be more driven to try to pursue it, even if it's somewhat out of reach. But, you know, I'd say it's absolutely better to be setting really big goals. And this applies to all in life. Have big intentions, big dreams. Set your goal to become an absolute peak human being in whatever modality that you're interested in. For me, I want to become peak in absolutely everything, like Batman. So if it helps you, train to become Batman. Oh no, my nipples are showing. It's cold out here. It's very cold. If it helps you, train to become Batman. If that's what excites you, set a goal that excites you. Now, even after I've said that, you're not going to be motivated every day, right? That's absolutely the truth. You're not going to be motivated every day. But you cannot rely on motivation to determine when you're going to work out. Motivation is a very unreliable thing. You might feel motivated right now. You're not going to feel motivated like tomorrow or maybe an hour from now. So basically, a thing that you need to learn to do is to be able to just do something when you don't feel like it, right? And that takes a lot of brain power. But keep your goal in mind and take it. Here's another tip. Take the task bit by bit. So remember earlier I said, take the 2 months day by day. Now, each day you can make it easier for yourself by taking it like step by step. How would I apply this for working out? Because when I was getting started, I didn't really follow this advice that I'm about to give, but so this is a concept that I believe is in a book called Atomic Habits. I haven't read the book, but I'm pretty sure that's where it comes from. So basically, imagine that you make a commitment to do a run every day. That's not what this routine is, but it's a similar concept. Imagine you make a commitment to do a run every day. In our minds, doing a run is a pretty big thing. It's strenuous, it's tiring. So what if we break it down into little steps? Right now, you might not feel like you're capable of going on the full run. You may just not feel like it today. But are you capable of going and putting your shoes on? Are you capable of opening the door and walking out? Are you capable of closing the door and then heading out for your run? So take it tiny step by tiny step, because that is something you can do. You can put your shoes on, right? So put your shoes on. Okay, next step, open the door. All right, next step, walk out the door. And then final step, close the door, go on your run. So if you break it up into these tiny manageable steps, then eventually you will be doing a whole workout, right? So that's a little tip for consistency and for doing stuff that you don't feel like doing. I promise you, every person who exercises consistently and sticks to it will eventually start enjoying it. They'll start finding it just fun, challenging, but fun. So stick to it, right? Stick to it if this is a thing that you really care about. Eventually, it'll be just a thing that you enjoy doing. All right, now I'm gonna move on to a brief breakdown of the routine. There's already plenty of videos online for all of these exercises, so I'm gonna go over each very quick, introduce what it's supposed to, what its purpose it serves, and what it's supposed to teach you about exercising. I don't prefer to do this like this, but the printer is not working, so I have the notes opened on Google Docs. Also, if I seem groggy, it's because it's 6 in the morning and this is actually the first time I'm speaking this entire day, so. The hope for this routine is that it'll bring you a wide range of benefits and overall functionality, as well as aesthetic gain if you care about that. And it has a big focus on getting you better at the 3 fundamental calisthenic movements, which is the push-up, the pull-up, and the squat. So you'll notice that the routine is completely built around these movements. So you'll see that Monday is dedicated to pushing. So what this means is you'll be working on your push-ups and all the muscles associated with it. If we look at the pushing motion of a push-up, that involves the chest, because it's bringing your arm inwards. That's what your chest serves to do. And then it's working your delts, your shoulders, and your tricep. So your delts are basically pushing your arm forward like this, and then your tricep is extending it outwards like that. That's how those muscles work together to work in a push-up. On Monday, you start by doing your push-ups, which works all these muscles, okay, together, and teaches them to work in tandem with each other. Then, after that, you'll follow with pike push-ups, which focus more on the shoulders. Now, generally, the way routines are structured is you start with a big compound movement that works all the muscles in tandem with each other, and then you start moving towards progressively more isolatory exercises. So if I wanted to extend my routine calisthenically, I would probably follow up with some diamond push-ups, which target my triceps. But since I'm trying to keep this routine minimal, you don't really need diamond push-ups right now. If you are a beginner, your triceps are already getting enough stimulation. And also, the diamond push-ups are harder than normal push-ups. So I would say master a normal push-up first, and then you can start adding on more isolation exercises if you want to. Now on Tuesday, you'll be hitting all the muscles involved in a squat, which, in other words, your legs. The muscles in your legs are your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, and your calves. This angle's a little messed up right now. Hold on. Your calves. Are my calves small? Kinda. Whatever. It is what it is. Also, the tibialis is the opposing muscle to the calf, where it runs along the shin, where the calf does this, the tibialis does this. The tibialis is important for protecting the ankle joint, and it's kind of neglected in this routine. Leg day is already really long, and the style of calf raises that you will be doing will help protect your ankle anyways. So again, in the future, if you want to, you can add some tibialis raises, or you can add them onto Sunday, which is an active rest day. Now Wednesday, you'll be hitting all the pull muscles, all the muscles involved in a pull-up, which would be your back, which serves to drive your elbows backwards and down along your side, and your biceps. I hope my biceps don't look small from the back there. That's better. Now, pull day tends to be really short because usually just your main compound pulling movement should be enough to hit all those muscles significantly. And again, as you get more advanced, you can add progressions to target your biceps or target your upper back versus your lats. But for now, as a beginner, you don't really need to worry about that. And also, you don't have the equipment necessary to do those variations. Now, because pull day is so short, I tack on core exercises as well that day. Your core is important for stabilizing your spine and also for amplifying force, which I'll explain later. So this whole system is called a push-pull leg split. The one modification that I've made is that I switched legs and pull, so it's push, legs, pull, because I don't like having a sore upper body when I'm hitting pull day. By the way, there are other splits that exist that are just different muscle groups. So upper lower is a split that exists. Basically, some people will hit their entire upper body on one day and then their legs on another day. So instead of being three muscle groups, they only have two. There's this thing called the bro split that I don't know much about. Apparently, it doesn't work well at all. I like push-pull legs. The point of a split is that it allows you to hit one muscle group while resting the other muscle group. And it allows you to hit this muscle group harder because you're not exhausted from having to train your entire body. For everything here, I suggest that as you learn and as you progress, you add more isolation exercises that you think would suit your goals. For instance, as I mentioned earlier, as you get better at push, you can start adding in some diamond push-ups to strengthen your arms specifically and your triceps. Now, I said that this routine was scalable to any level, so a resource that I'm going to point you to that lists a whole bunch of progressions and regressions for all of these exercises is the Hybrid Calisthenics YouTube channel and the Hybrid Calisthenics website. This guy's got really great videos that walk you through progressing on the push-up, on the pull-up, and on the squat. I actually don't know if he's got a video for squats, but I do know that the website he made has like a whole list of progressions and form guides for it. So I will link the YouTube channel and his website. And also he's made a program as well. And so if you want, you can also use that program instead of mine. I think his is actually simpler than mine is. Also search up these exercises on YouTube or on Google. So search up these exercises and you'll find plenty of information on them. And also make sure you are doing your form right. Getting the form right will make sure you're actually hitting the muscles you're supposed to be hitting them properly, and also just not injuring yourself. If you do the form wrong, chances are you'll mess up your joints, you'll mess up your spine. Do the form right. There's plenty of guides. These exercises start out very gentle, so there isn't much risk of you injuring yourself even if you're doing your form wrong, but make sure you set that habit good. Because if this video that I'm making right now generates a whole bunch of people doing push-ups like this, then I'm a failure. For in-depth form guides, I like the channels FitnessFAQs and Calisthenicmovement. From here on forward, know that every channel or any resource that I mention, I'm going to link in the description. First of all, your warm-up. Your warm-up is very important to reduce your risk of injury by actually bringing the temperature of your body and your muscles up so that their elasticity is improved. Your warm-up also primes your muscles to be moving better and stronger. Now you'll notice there's a lot of wrist stretching for push day. That's because when you're doing push, you can imagine this is the floor. A lot of pressure is being put on my wrists, especially as you get to harder progressions. So it's important to get into the habit of warming your wrists up. Okay, so exercise by exercise, let's go. The push-up, absolute foundational exercise of upper body strength and of calisthenics. You will probably use the push-up throughout your entire fitness journey. I still use push-ups plenty. Sometimes my push day is made entirely out of push-ups. Now the easiest push-up variation is as follows. The way you scale the push-up is by lowering the angle. And then, let me try to find a lower surface around here. All right, we're gonna do a scavenger. Ooh. Get creative with this. You just find various surfaces of different height, gradually lower your angle, and eventually you got a full push-up. And then from there you can do the harder progressions. And again, go to Hybrid Calisthenics for more details on progressing the push-up. What the pike push-up is, it's kind of similar, but it's an overhead press. I included it because I didn't want to neglect the overhead component of pushing. And it also gets some targeted work for the tricep, the delts, not the tricep. Though they, of course, will hit the tricep a little bit. And the pike push-up is scaled similarly. So if I come back to my bed frame right here, I don't know if I did those properly. I'm going to be honest, I never did the other progressions of pike push-ups because I was already pretty good at push-ups when I started. So I just went straight into normal pike push-ups. When you get started, you want to choose a variation that suits your current level, that will challenge you adequately, but also not overdo it. The Hybrid Calisthenics videos has suggestions for the rep ranges that you should use. For the easier variations, you want to be doing really high volume since they're very gentle exercises. You want to be doing them for a while to get adequate stimulation for those muscles. When I started, I had already been doing push-ups, albeit with bad form, for a while. The way I progressed was by gradually correcting my form and therefore making the exercise more difficult, and also by just doing more volume. All right, the 1 minute push-up. What the purpose of the 1 minute push-up is in this program is to introduce you to the concept of tempo training, or to the importance of how fast you do an exercise. Let me explain what a 1 minute push-up is first. Maybe I'll explain it on the ground. You know what? You know what would be fun? If I explain it while doing the 1 minute push-up. Hold on. So what the 1 minute push-up is it's you going through a push-up very slowly. So 30 seconds down and then 30 seconds back up. I'm not really counting right now. I'm just going really slow. But what this does is it targets your slow twitch muscle fiber. If you remember, I mentioned that in the earlier video. The slow twitch muscle fiber are responsible for precise controlled movement that is slow, but it's able to sustain that movement over a long period of time. That was not 1 minute, that was too fast. But it doesn't actually have to be 1 minute, especially if you're just getting started with it. It could be 30 seconds, it could be 45 seconds, as long as you're taking the movement pretty slow. Targeting the slow twitch muscle fiber will help improve your movement control and also improve your general strength, because slow twitch muscle fiber is still muscle fiber that will still get stronger. It's important to be mindful of the tempo that you're using while doing your exercises. So if you want to build explosivity, then you would want to do it fast. You want to work your fast twitch muscle fiber, which will increase your max force output, but it will also decrease how much control you have in that movement, because you're using a lot of, when you go fast, there's a lot of momentum involved. Generally, the advice is go at like a moderate tempo so that you're not using momentum to propel yourself upwards rather than your muscle strength. Doing an exercise slow will improve control and muscular endurance. Most of the time, I would suggest going at a moderate speed. And what that looks like is, okay, so fast. Moderate. And slow. "90% of the time you'll be using moderate tempo. The only time you'll be hitting the fast tempo or the slow tempo is if you specifically want to increase explosivity or muscle control and endurance. Next up, squats. Like the push-up, absolutely fundamental and will always be part of your fitness journey. Unless you want to just completely neglect legs, which some people I think do go that route. All right, next up, the ATG split squat. So, here, I'm gonna pull out the script for this one. The ATG split squat is meant to introduce you to the ATG system, or the Athletic Truth Group system, founded by Ben Patrick, or Kneesovertoesguy. That's his YouTube channel. I'll link that in the description again. The ATG system focuses on building strength while bulletproofing your joints for athleticism. Also, by the way, what bulletproofing is increasing strength and therefore decreasing the risk of injury of a joint. His YouTube channel's got some really great content about athleticism and about joint bulletproofing. So check that out if you're interested. Now, what's great about the ATG split squat, and my form isn't perfect yet. I still have some progress to be made. To give you a proper example, I'm gonna regress. So basically, you're getting your leg into a very, very extreme bent position. What that does is it targets your vastus medialis, which is really important for knee bulletproofing and knee strength. So this exercise will help with your knees a lot. And also, another benefit, you'll notice that my back leg goes way back, which stretches out this muscle here called the hip flexor. What the hip flexor does is it serves to raise your leg like this at the hip. Now, a problem that we see a lot these days is that our hip flexors are very tight because we spend so much time sitting. You can see here that the hip flexors are actually in a shortened position. And so since we spend so much time with the hip flexors in this shortened position, they become tight. And what happens is when we stand up, we've got this fun thing called anterior pelvic tilt. This tripod, bro. So now when your hip flexors tighten, what happens is your hip flexors pull your pelvis downwards, and then to compensate so that you're not walking around like this, your back muscles have to kick in. Your abs loosen to allow your spine to curve back so that now you walk around with your ass sticking out. Well, this is exaggerated, of course, but what this does is it puts a lot of pressure on your lower back. It causes a whole bunch of disbalances. So we want to stretch and lengthen those hip flexors again. And the ATG split squat is a great way to do that because let me move this chair back. You see, I'm lengthening the hip flexor. Loosening the hip flexor will allow your glute, the biggest muscle in your body, to contract harder and get you more athleticism by allowing you to drive your your leg back further with the power generated from your glute. Speaking of which, we're moving on to glute bridges. Glute bridges will train you to really contract the glutes to allow you to drive through them and gain a lot of power out of them for athletic purposes. Next up, the single leg RDL. The single leg RDL will train your hamstrings, which, not again. I need a new tripod. If this channel has any success, then I might have reason to buy a new one. Or I can make a new one. I got a 3D printer. Yeah, I'll do that maybe. So, like I said earlier, the hamstrings are like the bicep of your leg. They do this motion, but they also connect to the pelvis, which means that they can also hinge your hips like this. You'll notice if you move into a position like this, I can't stretch as far as I usually can because my hamstrings are sore. I just hit them. But you'll notice that if you move into a position like this, you will feel a stretch in your hamstrings because they do connect to the pelvis and also allow for this motion. So in order to train that, we do single leg RDLs, which is a hip hinge movement that looks like this. And I'm failing, hold on, like this. You can make this easier for yourself by supporting your weight against a surface like this. This alleviates the balancing challenge. This alleviates, it's falling again. Sick. This alleviates the balancing challenge and also takes some weight off of it. I have a door on my knee, so. Oh! That cracked. I'm not doing such a good job of demonstrating this, but again, there's videos online. What the single leg RDL is good for is your hip stability. Because when you move, let me open this again. You can see all the dead bodies I've got stored in there. That was a callback to the first video. Just in case that joke didn't make sense. It was a joke, by the way. I don't have bodies in there. Yeah. Okay. So when you go into this position, what your hip wants to do is rotate out like this, but you're resisting that by using the form cue of keeping your foot pointing towards the ground. So don't allow your foot to rotate out, keep it pointing down. So what that does is it keeps your hips level. That trains a muscle in the glute called the glute medialis, alongside with its contralateral quadratus lumborum. Contralateral just means on opposing sides of the body. So basically, you're training this quadratus lumborum, which runs along the base of the spine, to work along with this glute medialis when you're using this leg, and then the opposite for this leg. So this medialis, this lumborum. You're training them to work together to stabilize your pelvis, which is useful in any one-legged pushing movement. What are some examples of one-legged pushing movements? Running, jumping, a lot of stuff, because you use one leg at a time, right? You push off this leg, move, A lot of stuff will be assisted by improving hip stability. If you're able to keep your pelvis stable, that can help reduce any load on your lumbar. The crows are here. Also, you'll see that the glutes are also involved in the hip hinge. Note that I've placed the single leg RDL after glute bridges. What this does is it primes your glutes to be more involved in the single leg RDL, because you were just using them for the glute bridge, and now they're more inclined to be used for the single leg RDL. Oh, another note about the single leg RDL, it teaches you to hip hinge, and the hip hinge is used in a whole bunch of movements. So single leg RDL gets you some experience with that. Next up, calf raises. Calf raises are very simple. I'm not going to do it on my right leg because, again, I messed my ankle up. But calf raises, you just raise. You go on your tippy toes. And now you can do this on flat ground or on a ledge. A ledge is preferred. Let me show you a great example that you can use. Oh, there's sunlight. I've been holed up in my room all morning. I didn't even know the sun rose. So something that works great for calf raises is a staircase. You are able to support some of your weight with this, though eventually you want to be working towards not supporting any of your weight and simply just putting your knuckles or your palm against it, because you can't really support your weight like this. You're just keeping yourself balanced. But as you're starting out, if you want to, you can support some weight. And you'd be doing this with 2 legs instead of 1. I'm doing 1 because my right ankle is messed up. So the reason you want to do it on a ledge is because when you do it on the floor, the range of motion of this movement ends here at the floor. But when you do it on a ledge, your range of motion extends beyond the floor and you can get a better stretch in the calf here. Well, this will help with your ankle mobility. In general, you want to be getting the muscle into a stretched position at the end range of motion. So keep that in mind. Like, for instance, with a bicep curls are not in this program, but this is just the first example I can think of. I caught that. I hate this tripod so much. So overall, you want to be aiming for as much range of motion as you can, and also aiming to get a stretch in the muscle at the lower end of the range of motion. An example that I can think of is in bicep curls, which aren't in this program, but it was the first thing that came to mind. So the bicep gets put into a stretched position when you move the arm back like this, because the bicep connects up here, so connects up to the shoulder. So when you move your arm back, it lengthens out the bicep and puts it in a stretch. Some people take advantage of this. Basically, when you stretch the muscle out at the end range of motion, you're increasing you will have more hypertrophy. So what they do is they do bicep curls while leaning against a bench. I don't have a bench to demonstrate with, but you get the idea. Their arms resting position is now puts the bicep into a more stretched position, so that when they do their curls, they end the motion in a stretched position, which will increase hypertrophy. If you use a ledge, you increase the range of motion, increase the stretch you get in the calf at the bottom of the movement, which will give you better hypertrophy gains. You're gonna wanna work towards doing these ATG style. Again, ATG, Athletic Truth Group, founded by Ben Patrick, Kneesovertoesguy. It serves to increase strength while bulletproofing joints for athleticism, but I've already talked about that. Just a refresher. Remember I mentioned the tibialis, this muscle that flexes the foot like this, whereas the calf flexes the foot like this. At the bottom of the range of motion, so this is your ledge, at the bottom of the range of motion, you're gonna wanna actively flex the tibialis, you can see. Flex the tibialis to put the calf in an extra stretch and to also get some work on the tibialis right here, the shin muscle. That will help protect your joints, increase their mobility, and just overall be less prone to ankle injury. I've been showing a lot of feet this video. I gotta work on that. We are moving on to pull day. I love pull day. No particular reason why, I just like pull day. Pull-ups, fundamental. Again, a lot of people will struggle with pull-ups, so it would be a huge achievement for you to do these with clean form. I'm gonna be honest, my pull-up form is still not perfect. Like, I can do a decent amount of pull-ups, but my form could use a lot of work. And again, you don't need any equipment for this routine. But as you progress, it might be a good idea to get a pull-up bar and some gym rings. Gym rings are very helpful, and I'll explain why later. Pull-ups are extremely subject to bad form because most people think just the only objective is get the chin over the bar, get the chin over the bar, get the chin over the bar. Most people will pull up like this, rounding their back at the top, trying to get just their chin over the bar. What you should be aiming for, and I'm still working towards this as well, I should be there by now, but honestly, I've been really inconsistent with calisthenics. What you should be aiming for, instead of a rounded spine like this, aim for this. Having your back more like this rather than this. When you pull in this motion, you're getting more involvement from the entire back rather than just the lats. And also it's harder. So clean form, keep your form clean. That was me just skimming over it very briefly. Watch some videos on perfect pull-up form. Now, once you can achieve the pull-up, it's a very good feeling because you're now able to lift your own body weight. And in the end, the goal is to be able to lift your own body weight comfortably, which is a big step to body weight mastery. Pull-ups are pretty challenging. They're probably the last one that you'll get out of these fundamental 3. Now, after you've done your pull-up work for the day, which again is detailed by Hybrid Calisthenics. Oh, wait, that's right. I forgot. Okay. You don't need equipment to be progressing your pull-up. I think an entry-level pull-up would be to find a door frame and pull yourself up on the door frame. From there, move your legs inwards to steepen the angle and therefore increase the difficulty. And then you could even go one-handed if you'd like, as you get better at that. And then you gradually decrease the angle, just like a push-up. Oh yeah, Future Roger's back at it again. So the way you decrease the angle with rows is by eventually moving to doing table rows, which I'll put right here. Yeah, that's a table row, so I thought I'd insert that. Oh, okay, bye. While you don't need it, it's very helpful. Gym rings. Gym rings can be hung on a tree. I actually really like hanging gym rings on trees because it makes you feel like a bit of a badass being in the woods on gym rings. But I have my gym rings hanging on a pull-up bar. What you can do with these, shorten the length of this strap, as so, like so, as so. Is there a difference? I don't know. Bars! That rhymed. Decrease the length, and then steepen the angle. Steepen the angle. My ankle, steepen the ankle. Angle, ankle. Eventually with these, you'll get yourself to a very steep angle. Again, gym rings are not required, and if you're having trouble thinking of a way to lower your angle, then I'm sure there's plenty of people who have like ideas that you can steal from. So after you've done your pull-up progression, you'll be moving on to some core exercises. Now, the core. The core consists of the muscles that basically connect your upper body to your legs, and they're the muscles that help you stand straight up. So that includes your abs, your obliques, which are to the side of the abs, and they're responsible for rotation and sideways crunching. Your quadratus lumborum that I mentioned earlier, which are these muscles that run along the back. They're responsible for this motion as well as this motion. Your hip flexors, right. Your hip flexors are a core muscle. Your glutes and your lats are included in the core. But basically, these muscles work together. These muscles work together to stabilize your body and also to amplify force. So if you imagine throwing something, your core, if you throw like this, you're not going to get much force, right? But if you throw with rotation that's generated at the core, then you can get a lot more force. Also, your core serves a lot of the time to just keep yourself stable so that, first of all, your spine is protected by all these muscles here, keeping it straight. And also, there's less energy leakage. What do I mean by that? So if you imagine having a barbell and you're squatting, you would want your core to be extremely stiff so that all the force from your legs can be transferred directly into the bar and move it up. If your core is loose, first of all, your spine is going to blow out. But second of all, you're losing a lot of that energy. Floppiness here is energy loss. You want strength, but you also want stability here. Now, let's address the misinformation about core exercises that exists on the internet. Bringing out the script for this one. So basically, there's a whole bunch of misinformation with core exercises that's floating around because there's a lot of influencers who are trying to capitalize on the average person's desire for six-pack abs. First of all, the abs are not the only muscle in the core. There's plenty of other stuff here that is all very, very important. And second of all, what they tell you to do is do hundreds of crunches to feel the burn in your abs and to tone your stomach down to reveal your six-pack abs. That's not how it works. You cannot choose which location you want to burn fat. You cannot reduce fat in a targeted area. Fat gets lost throughout your entire body through diet and exercise. How fast you lose fat in different areas depends entirely on your genetics, which you have no control over. Don't use high volume exercise to tone down the skin there or to shred fat in that area, because it's impossible. It doesn't work. That burning feeling that you chase with ab workouts to try to tone your belly fat it's just the muscle getting tired. it's not burning fat in that specific area, all right? If you care about aesthetics, then instead of trying to choose to reduce fat in this specific area, which is impossible, choose to grow the muscle underneath the fat so that it shows through it more, and which is possible because if that's exactly what you're doing with all your other muscles. So if you wanted to grow your bicep, the best way to do that would be like 3 sets of 12 at a decently heavy weight. Which again, bicep curls are not in the routine, but that's just the first example I can think of. And then the bicep would grow. You should treat your abs the exact same way. There's nothing different about it. Though from a functionality standpoint, the difference in how we train the core from the other muscle groups is we do a lot more isometric work for the core. What does this mean? So a dynamic motion is where you're moving through a range of motion. So imagine I'm lifting a weight here. Actually, you know what? I got the water bottle again. So I'm lifting the weight through this range of motion. An isometric exercise would be me holding it still here, right? And now for the core, isometric work is especially important because remember, a large part of what the core does is to stiffen us. Well, I shouldn't say stiffen. A lot of what the core does is to stabilize the spine and to be rigid, right? So that's for that reason we have a lot of isometric work for the core. Don't waste your time with a whole bunch of high volume work for your abs. You're not burning belly fat and you're getting diminishing returns on muscle growth. So eventually, if you care about getting your abs showing, that what you should be working towards is just 3 sets of 12 hanging leg raises. Speaking of which, all right, leg raises. Leg raises don't hit just your abs, they hit a whole bunch of core muscles and they teach you how to work your core muscles in tandem with each other. So this is the compound movement for your core. Now, a misconception about leg raises. A lot of people think that when you're doing this motion, your abs are doing the work. But, not really. What's happening is your hip flexors, the muscle that hinge your leg up at the hip, those are doing the work. But what's happening is, the hip flexors are, if I lift my shirt up, you might be able to see. What happens is the hip flexors will pull at the pelvis. You can see how it lifts up there. You don't want that. You don't want that. That's bad. That's bad for your spine. So what's really happening here is your hip flexors are the ones moving, are the muscles that are moving through a range of motion. And your abs are basically contracting isometrically to resist lumbar flexion, as you can see. So no ab contraction, ab contraction. That's why it's really important that you keep your lower back touching the ground. And don't put your hands under your butt while doing leg raises. Because what's happening is you're taking away, you're cheating. You're taking away the load from your abs and you're forcing your spine into you're forcing your spine into a more comfortable position, which sounds like a good thing, but it isn't training your abs to work like they're supposed to. So with this, again, make sure your form is good. Make sure you're never going into lumbar extension here. Also, if you're training your abs to resist lumbar flexion like that, guess what? You're helping fix anterior pelvic tilt. In a floor leg raise, you're extending to 90 degrees, which is entirely your hip flexor. But once you go past 90 degrees, then that's when your abs start to contract dynamically rather than just isometrically resisting lumbar flexion. I'm throwing a lot of big words at you. Sorry about that. So once you get towards the hanging variations, then you can start getting some more ab work by going toes to bar. That was a lot of foot. And it's at that point where you can start training your abs dynamically as you would a normal muscle. And as always with these movements, follow the hybrid calisthenics guide on it and keep in mind what the abs are actually doing, and which is resisting lumbar flexion. Next up, our final exercise, the side plank. What the side plank does is it trains your stability in the frontal plane. So you can train to be stable this way, but are you stable this way, right? This is the frontal plane of motion. But you don't have to worry about planes of motion. That's just a fancy word that I use to sound more professional. All you're doing essentially is becoming more stable in this direction. So how do you do that? Well, your gravity is pulling down this way and your body wants to sag like this, but you're resisting and focusing on keeping a straight line, not this, but this, a straight line. That's training these a whole bunch of contralateral core muscles to work in tandem to keep you upright and stable, all right? And again, contralateral means on opposing sides. So whereas the leg raise works on your core stability in this plane of motion, the side plank works on your core stability in this plane of motion. The core works with many, many angles, and it's important to hit it at many, many angles. Now, unfortunately, one disadvantage of doing this without any equipment, remember when I said that having your core be able to move, to rotate like this, is important for amplifying force in a lot of things? Well, we can't really do that with body weight. It's difficult to effectively load this motion to actually build strength there. So one thing people do is they get a resistance band, which I'll show you. This is a resistance band. It's just a big glorified rubber band, and it can be really useful for training rotational core strength. What I've done is I've closed it on the door frame, so it's pretty secure and tight and ready to go. What you can do with this is you can do a punch out, which trains a lot of rotation here, as you can see. If you want, you can get a resistance band. You can also do this with cable machines that you can find at a gym if you have access to one. But again, I designed this routine to use no equipment. Another thing to mention is that as you start progressing your pull-up and maybe start going into one-armed variations, you will be getting some rotational core work. What's happening here is gravity wants to pull my body like this, right? But I'm resisting that with isometric rotational core strength. So there is a little bit work there. Overall, calisthenics and bodyweight mastery has a large focus on core rigidity. So you're actually already getting a lot of core work by doing calisthenics. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully this routine helps you, and hopefully you can develop on it and get moving with fitness. All right. If you've got any questions, comments, or concerns, I'm experimenting with doing one-to-one calls over Zoom or Google Meets or whatever, I don't know. Again, I'm new to this, I'm experimenting. I'll put a link in the description where you can sign up for a 15-minute session. It's completely free. All you have to do is put in an email and your name. Though usually if I were signing up for this, I would put in a fake name. So I use an alternate email and a fake name. You can do that if you want. I couldn't find a way to bypass the email or the name in the sign up. So again, I'm experimenting. So if you've got any feedback on these videos, any criticisms, any questions, or if you want me to maybe walk you through a workout, then sign up for a 15-minute call. I'll be happy to help. Bye.